Breaking news coming in. This is big news out of Pakistan, which has allowed Kulbhushan Jadhav to meet his wife on humanitarian grounds. Finally, the Pakistan government has sent a note verbal to this effect to the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. Jadhav has been in Pakistani custody since March 3rd, 2016. Islamabad has accused him of being an Indian spy, and that case is on in the International Court of Justice. In a big development, for the first time, the Pakistani government has allowed his wife to meet Kulbhushan Jadhav on quote-unquote humanitarian grounds, and that is the message that has been sent as a note verbal to the Indian High Commission in Islamabad. Remember, this case is very much on in the ICJ, and Pakistan has been accused of violating the Vienna Convention, not allowing consular access to a man who has been wrongfully accused of being an Indian spy. He was arrested from the Iranian side of the Chabahar port, we are told, from the Chabahar port rather. The Pakistani government claims that he was in Balochistan and he was working at the behest of the Indian military spy agency, the RNAW. That dispute has not been settled. India maintains that he was there in his personal capacity, that he was a businessman. The case went to The Hague, and the International Court of Justice is still hearing the matter, where Pakistan's arguments, most legal experts say, fell flat when it could not explain why Kulbhushan Jadhav had been denied consular access. Sushant Sareen, a senior fellow at the Vivekananda International Foundation, someone who's also followed this case very closely with us, is joining us on the phone line. Sushant, big news coming from Pakistan. They've intimated to the Indian High Commission there that they will allow Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife to meet him.
Well, I think it's a decent thing to do, kind of unusual for the Pakistanis, but if they're doing the decent thing, we should welcome it. But I don't think, I think it would be rather early and very presumptuous for us to assume that this shows a softening in the Pakistani stand, or that it indicates or could be the start of, a process whereby this entire case, which has really created a lot of bitterness between the two countries, is now going to reach some kind of a solution, some kind of a deal will be worked out. I think that would be rather presumptuous on our part. But I won't put it past the Pakistanis that they make a gesture like this simply because the case is going to be up for hearing at The Hague, and they might want to earn some brownie points or try and tweak the position at The Hague by saying that there'll be, on humanitarian line, we've given access to her wife and perhaps maybe some other members of the family, but because this guy is an alleged spy and a saboteur who has been awarded the death sentence, we are not obliged to give him consular access, give the Indian side the consular access to this guy. So I won't put it past them. I think that is likely trajectory which the Pakistanis are going to adopt. So I would just see it in a very limited kind of a thing, to the extent that it does give some relief to his family members. I think that is to be welcomed. But more than that, I won't read anything in this particular gesture.
All right. Taha Siddiqui, my colleague, joining us from Islamabad. He's WION's Pakistan Bureau Chief. Taha, what have you heard from your sources in the Pakistan government?
Well, this has come very suddenly, in the sense that we had no idea that this was brewing by the Foreign Office, but suddenly they've sent out a message, and even it just came out like almost 15-20 minutes ago, at a time when the Foreign Office is supposed to be closed. The office hours are over, but despite that, and it's a Friday, so tomorrow there's no working hours. So the timing of it, in that sense, is particular, that they've sent out a message on a Friday evening. And there must have been deliberations ongoing for this. And there has been some changes also at the Foreign Office. Very recently, the Foreign Office spokesperson has been changed. There have been some new people, and the Foreign Minister also, Khwaja Asif, has been very vocal about Pakistan's issues, and as he's been speaking. So I think it seems like ever since the new cabinet has come in and the Foreign Ministry has been given to Khwaja Asif's hands, he perhaps wants to take this issue in a different manner, and that is what we're seeing right now.
Right, and that is the story that we are breaking for our viewers. Remember, this is a case that we've tracked very, very closely, Taha. Many saying that this is also a way for Pakistan to perhaps earn some brownie points, as its case stands on very weak grounds at the ICJ. The question of not allowing consular access is something that Pakistan has not been able to explain satisfactorily.
Well, as far as that's concerned, Palki, basically from what Pakistan's stand or Islamabad's stand on that is that, there's this agreement from 2008, and we've repeatedly talked about that particular agreement, in which they say that if the allegations are of any person that between India and Pakistan of being a spy for the respective country, then that sort of consular access does not the merits of consular access do not apply to him. So in that sense, with Kulbhushan Jadhav, they say because he's a spy, so the agreement between Pakistan and India does not apply, and it's a special case. But at the same time, from what I see right now, it's too early to comment on what could be the reasons. But it could also possibly hint at the Pakistani civilian leadership trying to sort of send a message to its own military, because if the access is given, we've heard different versions of how Kulbhushan ended up where he ended up, and if that consular access, that access to the wife is given, the story is going to come out as to what he has to say himself about the whole process. And if that comes out, there are different versions, and we've seen that the Pakistani civilians have been kept in dark about a lot of things, and they weren't really happy earlier on. From what I've talked to some Foreign Office officials, they weren't really happy with the fact that they do not know what was going on with the trial, and so sort of they were just getting information. And even when they went to Hague at that time, there was criticism that the Pakistani side was not that prepared, but the Pakistani side was not that well prepared because the information was not forthcoming. Even now, for example, Kulbhushan Jadhav is supposed to be handed over to the civilian custody, but from what we understand, he's still in the military custody. So this could also be a hint towards, the civil-military imbalances in the country, and the civilians trying to sort of say that, no, we need to take this case forward and deal with it according to our international obligations, rather than the way the Pakistan military wants.
Right. Stay with us, Taha. Kartikeya Sharma, political editor, also joining us on the phone line. Kartikeya, we know on the 21st of October, about 20 days back, the new High Commissioner from Pakistan, Sohail Mahmood, met External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj. There were reports that the case of Kulbhushan Jadhav may have been discussed, though the Foreign Office denied any of those reports. Do you believe that this is an outcome of that?
I would say at a time when the atmosphere or the relationship between India and Pakistan is so rancid, I think these small courtesies are welcome. Palki, I don't know how much will change in terms of Kulbhushan Jadhav's fate or his future, but I think these small courtesies make a lot of difference. The fact that he was not able to meet anyone, or the fact that he had no access even to his lawyer, was something which bothered everyone. The fact that he got tried in the military court, not in the civil court, bothered everyone. But these are small courtesies, and I would still say these small courtesies are appreciated, because these small courtesies send correct message. Now, this is the first baby step. Now, it depends what sort of access does Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife get. Will she be given the privilege to meet him alone? Will she meet Mr. Jadhav with a lawyer, or will there be a representative? It's all ifs and buts. But I think it's important that at least this modicum of decency has been maintained, and it should be appreciated. And so I do also express my appreciation on that. But in terms of what it will do for India-Pakistan relationship, or Mr. Jadhav's fate, or his appeal, or the way the courts in Pakistan look at it, it's a different story altogether. But nonetheless, it's not a small development, it's an important development. And it's pregnant with a lot of meaning. And it's, Palki, to me, it's pegged in with a lot of opportunities. Now, which way these opportunities will go, we will have to wait and see. But for now, Palki, it is important that the first baby step has been taken.
Indeed, and about time Pakistan extended, if this is a courtesy, will he be given consular access as well? And will he be then subjected to a free and fair trial is the question many would be asking. But as Karthike pointed out, a positive first step, certainly. Retired Air Marshal M.S. Bawa, who's a security expert, joining us. Air Marshal Bawa, your first reaction, Pakistan finally saying that it will allow Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife to meet him, though no clarification, no details as of now. Under what circumstances and what sort of access will she be provided?
It's a great news if that is right and they mean it. I hope they don't have a hidden agenda behind it. That once she has met him, and they can continue with their execution. That should never happen. They've lost the case in the International Court of Justice, and they must behave as a nation, not become terrorists as far as their behavior is concerned. I applaud the news that has come, and we keep our fingers crossed, and our sympathies are with him because they fabricated a story on him. He is a retired naval officer who was not caught in Balochistan. He was caught on the Iranian border, and they're just misrepresenting everything. It's a nation that has lost respect in my eyes. Marshal Bawa.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Taha Siddiqui, whatever be the circumstances under which Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife will be allowed to meet him, there were many who expressed fears that there's a chance that he may not even be alive, the kind of treatment that might have been meted out to him in the military prison. It's been more than a year and a half. So this bit of news puts paid to all that speculation and all those fears that Kulbhushan Jadhav is alive and well and will be allowed to see his wife.
Definitely, Palki. From what we understand in Islamabad, there were, access to information with regards to Kulbhushan's case is very limited. And most of that information trickles down through sources only, or at one point in time, the military was leading the whole information sort of campaign on him. The way we saw those videos coming out where he was confessing, then there was a lot of talks about, these videos were they are taken under duress, whether there was, they were fabricated. There were clearly some editing that had been done on those videos. Since the last video that came out, which was a few months ago also, there were also questions as to where he is. I've been talking to security officials here. One thing that they do say is that he's being probably kept in under the military sort of, confinement because of the sensitivity of the issue. And he cannot, as I was saying earlier, that he's not been handed over to the civilian authorities, which he should be, because once somebody is convicted, according to the law, even in the military courts, if he's convicted, he is supposed to be then sent or transferred to the civilian jails. But in his case, that has not happened. And it's perhaps not just because, the Pakistan military wants to keep control of the case, but also because they understand that given his background and his profile, and we've seen that earlier on that, some Indian prisoners have been attacked inside Pakistani prisons. So given all of that, I think that is why he's still with the military custody, and now access to him has been granted. His family, just the family access has been granted to him.
Right. Mandy Clark, my colleague and WION's London Bureau Chief, who tracked developments at The Hague and this case, is joining us now from London. Mandy, how does it affect, if at all, the case that is going on in the International Court of Justice, the fact that Pakistan has finally agreed Kulbhushan Jadhav's family, his wife in particular, to beat him?
That will please the International Court of Justice. One of their biggest issues was their concern about his lack of access and made it clear that that is a fact that they definitely wanted him to have access to, help, whether it's lawyers, but families would be welcome as well. So it will strengthen Pakistan's case in terms of the International Court of Justice, because they will be seen to be compliant with their request.
Right, Taha, this is also a case that has in a way exposed the fact that the Pakistani military establishment and the government are not always on the same page when it comes to prisoners like Kulbhushan Jadhav, who are used as bargaining chips with other nations?
Definitely. I mean, Palki, as I was saying earlier on also, there is a lot of civil military tensions over this particular case also, with regards to international trips of Nawaz Sharif back in the day when he was still the prime minister. There was a lot of criticism that why he had not raised the issue of Kulbhushan Jadhav's alleged spying activities or espionage activities or, terrorist activities as he's the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif did not raise this issue globally. Why is the Foreign Office not pursuing it? And those kind of that kind of chatter we heard from the usual suspects, which is like basically we understand to be the military establishment behind this, and we heard those kind of those rumor mongering that this is because the Pakistani Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif is soft on India and all those similar sort of accusations that Nawaz Sharif has faced before when it comes to India. So in that sense, we've seen civil military tensions between Pakistan within the Pakistani sort of framework with regards to the Kulbhushan Jadhav's case, and now the Foreign Office has come forward with this particular sort of this access, granting of access. We have to see and wait and see whether the military is on board with this or not. Of course, I mean, this is a big step and the military must have been taken in confidence. But right now, the foreign minister of Pakistan, Khwaja Asif, who's a new foreign minister of Pakistan for the last few months, ever since the new cabinet came in, he has been quite vocal about his, about the issues with the military and how, earlier on, if you remember, he talked about the baggages Pakistan had with regards to Kashmiri militants also, which nobody in the past at that kind of a senior level has talked about. So perhaps this could indicate a change of civilians and their tact towards dealing with the domestic imbalance also.
Indeed. Joining us on the phone line, retired Air Vice Marshal P.S. Ahluwalia. Air Marshal Ahluwalia, your first reaction, the fact that the Pakistani establishment has finally agreed to grant access to Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife. She'll be able to meet her husband, who's been in jail since March 2016.
Yes, exactly. You see, this was an opportunity for Pakistan to indulge in informing everybody that they follow the rule of law. Unfortunately, this whole case was so messed up, right from the time that he was arrested, right from the time that the CJ was involved, and the question was that did he do something wrong? Obviously, this was a loose reaction for Balochistan. It was a loose reaction because they were getting some pressure on trying to evolve and show the world that they are treating Balochistan absolutely in a very magnanimous way as part of the country of Pakistan. However, since they could not achieve that, and they again got into the doldrums from the International Court of Justice and international opinion, diplomacy. So therefore, this is obviously an opportunity for them to show the world that they're trying to follow the rule of law. As you're aware, that it was the military court that had actually found him guilty. They actually gave him the so-called guilty punishment, and there is no way that they would have actually given the opportunity to his wife to meet with him. But this is an opportunity which they're trying to use to show the world that, they follow the rule of law. But the best part would be that at least, it would be a start point for him to get help as far as the lawyers are concerned. And hopefully, because till now, he did not have the lawyers of his choice, he did not have any neutral lawyers, and this would perhaps be the beginning of him to get proper, you can say, help as far as, the lawyers are concerned. And maybe that be the case, and subsequently maybe he'll get released.
Right. Air Marshal Ahluwalia, thanks very much. Ujjwal Nikam, senior lawyer, also joining us. Mr. Nikam, as you are aware, the case is still on at the International Court of Justice. Pakistan has repeatedly thwarted the government of India's attempts to get Kulbhushan Jadhav any sort of consular access or help. Now, this sudden U-turn and change of heart on humanitarian grounds, allowing his wife to meet him, what does this suggest to you, and how will it impact the case that is on at The Hague? Mr. Nikam, this was a question for you. What do you think has prompted Pakistan to suddenly act on quote-unquote humanitarian grounds? All right, I'm told we'll try and reconnect with Ujjwal Nikam, but this is a case that has been controversial. This is a case where Pakistani arguments have held little water from the word go. Remember, Taha-Siddiqui, if you recall, the Pakistani Foreign Minister, Khwaja Asif, had said as late as December last year that there isn't conclusive proof against Kulbhushan Jadhav. Within months, when the military court sentenced him to death, the Pakistani government had no choice but to come together and say that he is an Indian spy who should be sentenced to death.
I mean, at that time, it was actually, just to correct you, it was Sartaj Aziz who had said that,
right, yes.
Who was the advisor to Foreign Ministry at that time to Nawaz Sharif. But then later on, you know, he had said something which was on the lines of saying that I haven't seen the evidence myself. I've spoken to him on that particular sort of, you know, story, and he said that, you know, it was taken out of context. I wasn't saying that there is no conclusive evidence. I was saying I haven't seen it as yet, and then it was blown out of sort of context, and then he sort of even sent out a retraction, and later on the news channels which ran his correction and clarification later on. But definitely it hinted at that tension that I've been talking about between the civil and the military sort of establishment here, that the civil and the military establishment wants to sort of they have a different take on how to go about with when it comes to this case of Kulbhushan Jadhav. And we've seen that repeatedly, that, you know, the military has been saying something else and the civilians have been silent, or perhaps at some point in time towing the line, but then also, you know, behind closed doors or you know, informally saying that we have no idea about this particular case. And I mean, I've even talked to people in the civilian intelligence apparatus in Balochistan, where they say that, you know, Kulbhushan Jadhav was recovered from or arrested from. And some of those, you know, intelligence officials from the civilian apparatus, not the military here, but the civilian apparatus, they have repeatedly said that they even have doubts about, you know, the whole case. So definitely there is a different sort of point of view when it comes to how the military wants to take this case forward, and how they have been taking this case forward, and how the civilians have been doing what they have been doing with regards to the case.
I'm looking at the press release from the office of the spokesperson of the Pakistan Foreign Office, and it basically says the government of Pakistan has just decided to arrange a meeting of Commander Kulbhushan Jadhav with his wife in Pakistan purely on humanitarian grounds. Doesn't give very many details. Do we know when this meeting is scheduled to happen, and what process the wife will have to follow? If you can hear me, the question then is, what is the timeline that we are looking at? When is the next hearing of the case scheduled? And will Kulbhushan Jadhav's wife be able to meet him before that? What sort of procedure does she have to follow? Who's going to facilitate this?
Well, basically, from what we understand right now, Palki, the Foreign Ministry has sent out a verbal sort of agreement to the Indian High Commission here. Because as soon as this story came out, and then we've been covering it ever since the last 1 hour, I've been trying to get in touch with the Indian High Commission here to find out what their next step would be, or what their response would be. But definitely, I mean, now it would depend on how the Indian High Commission responds to it. First of all, that response we have to wait for. Then basically, you know, issuance of visa to the wife who's in India right now for her to come. That would have to be done through the Pakistan Embassy in Delhi. Of course, they would also be communicated from the Foreign Office to facilitate that. But as of yet, I mean, except for the information that has come out that this verbal sort of message has been sent to the High Commission, there hasn't been more information on this with this regards.
Sure. I'm told Ujjwal Nikam is back with us. Mr. Nikam, the question I wanted to ask you earlier was this: what do you think has prompted this change of heart on Pakistan's part. Right, I'm told we will go to Ujwal Nikam in just a bit. Air Marshal Ahluwalia, the fact that the Pakistani government is going to allow Kulbhushan Jadhav to meet his wife doesn't in any way suggest that Pakistan has softened his position on him, because in the very next line, this press release also says that he worked with the Indian intelligence agency, the RAW, and has confessed to working for the RAW and was tasked by the RAW to plan, coordinate and organize espionage, terrorist and sabotage activities.
Well, actually, the deep state of Pakistan, which is led by the Pakistan army, there is no question of them thinking of anything humanitarian. There has to be a strategy here. There has to be some purpose that they're trying to achieve by allowing his wife to come and meet with him. In fact, even the International Court of Justice had indicated that he should be given consular access and he should have a lawyer who should represent him in this army court, if it may be, and to be able to explain what he was doing, why he's guilty or not guilty. And these are basic necessities which are offered to any human being anywhere in the world. Since Pakistan has got a lot of flack on this issue, right from the International Court of Justice, and of course, subsequently it will come out even more, they're now trying to sort of, if I might call it, hoodwink the general public internationally that no, we follow the law of the land and we give opportunities to all these people. So I don't believe that they're doing it on humanitarian grounds. Certainly not. There has to be a purpose here. There is a strategy behind this, and I do believe this is to indicate, because this particular case has gone international after it went to the International Court of Justice and otherwise. So therefore, this is just to put some cream on the kind of benevolence that they're showing, that they're following the rules and they're giving opportunities to a prisoner that they took by force.
So you're saying Pakistan was left with no choice. Taha Siddiqui, before I wrap this discussion very quickly, what kind of pressure did the Pakistani government, especially the military establishment, faced on account of the fact that people like Kulbhushan Jadhav have typically not been given consular access, and this is a clear violation of the Vienna Convention?
Well, Rawalpindi, which is like basically the military establishment, which their version of it, or their take or stance on it, is that because he was involved in espionage activities, allegedly, because he was involved in these sort of anti-Pakistan and terrorist activities that they have blamed him for, running these terrorist networks in Balochistan. Because of all of that, he is not a regular prisoner of Indian origin. He is actually a prisoner who has that spy background, and he's part of the Indian intelligence community, and because of which there is a separate way of dealing with it. Of course, if you look at it from a human rights point of view, and I've spoken to lawyers here in Pakistan who are human rights defenders, mind you, they usually do not want to come forward, talk about it, given the sensitivity of this particular case and the Indian background involved. But they have told me that if they look at from a fair trial point of view and from a human rights point of view, and the kind of signatories that Pakistan is of international obligations, definitely the way this particular case has been carried out is not the way Pakistan should be carrying this case out if we look at all the obligations it has internationally.
Indeed. Taha Siddiqui, thanks very much for breaking this bit of news, and this is a big piece of news that we are sharing with our viewers. The Pakistan government has finally decided that it will allow the wife of Kulbhushan Jadhav to meet him. He's been in jail since March 2016 and his case is still on at the International Court of Justice at The Hague. Thanks very much for watching. The news continues on WION.